everybody, it's MJ from Love TV. How are you? How's this fine day for all of you? I'm unlisted right now. Some days you'll find that I just intuitively don't want to go listed. I'm just not in the mood, okay? I'm not in the mood. And yet I am in the mood to share. I am in the mood to share from the heart and see what comes through for my fellow brothers and sisters on this planet Earth in the sharing of walking of life and the endeavoring to improve our state of being here. You know, it's kind of simple stuff, right? Part of it is that we all find our purpose, although that's not meant to be some sort of glamorized concept. It more has to do with how do you feel good and safe here. The flip of the paradox of enslavement versus empowerment is that your joy is actually your service. Because your joy is your well-being. Your well-being is the well-being of all. There's been two things that have popped up. One is the pharmaceutical industry, and then two is something else. But it reminds me about how we create the issue and then find an economic solution, right? So we create the illness to find the economic solution, to get rich out of creating the solution for that problem. That's sort of what the exploitative economic, a lot of how the economy's currency is a-flowing is ultimately based, again, in control and domination, manipulating the masses, blah, blah, blah. And here we go. So tomorrow is a full moon in June 2019. We are now in the portal of the solstice, which is super duper exciting. Not to mention it's just like right midpoint in the year, so we're at this huge turning point, weirdly as well, not weirdly. The energies do feel different today, and again, it's not different, is just different. I watched something that triggered that same feeling of like, please God, like please let it be the shift, or let it be the event, or let it be the like blah, blah, the culmination point. And then I gently remind myself that like it never ends, that it always keeps going. And I'm finding that as far as like, here I am looking collective intuitions and patterns and seeing that more and more of us are becoming aware of any kind of disempowered patterns that we have, patterns that don't serve us, patterns that don't serve our well-being, patterns that are invested in seeking approval in other, patterns that are invested in massaging ego, patterns that are invested in gossiping, patterns that are invested in denying the self, patterns that are invested in blah, 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 blah. So ultimately, a lot of what the collective is shining light on, addressing, looking at, or endeavoring to release, it's kind of the same thing. It are patterns that are limiting, patterns that don't serve us, patterns of self-loathing, patterns of self-abandonment, patterns of self-rejection, patterns of control, domination, and manipulation. So, and like all, they totally all go hand in hand. You know, if we weren't so gosh darn naive, we wouldn't be able to be manipulated so profoundly, right? And so there's an innocence and a naivety about the kind of the mass human consciousness field, and that is ultimately what we're, bing, dream spell, we're waking up from that. We're like, you know, en masse going, what the actually is going on here? And then the more we do a little sniffing and a little bit of digging, you'll find that there is this, just this sort of imprint of enslavement via the control domination system. However, it's sort of a co-creative choice. And again, I always get this vision. It has to do with where the Earth's traversing in the universe, okay? So it's kind of a lot more detached than what we think. And the controller energies are not evil demons. No, it's just people who choose to frequent on that level, in that realm. You know, like there's an inherent divinity in all aspect. So it's like, it's only in our little judgy minds that we're like, oh my God, that is so disgusting. Okay, it's just a frequency. The only reason we get triggered by it is because there's karma. There's energy to work. Like, so this is a classic example, especially related, because you guys know I like to talk about privilege. So when we're of privilege, why do you think so many people feel fucking guilty when they see poverty in other countries, or they see homelessness, or they see da-da-da? They're like, oh my god. Or we have emotional reactions. And then because in fairness, like that, for me, my reactions to poverty and homelessness and all that kind of stuff is part of why I ended up having these veils removed. Is that underneath, beyond the veil, you'll, again, this is it's pretty simple, is that our consumerist blind consumerism rests on the shoulders of the enslavement and impoverishment, is that a word? And the impoverishment of a culture, of a group of people. And so you can see that it's all twisted, and then we live in denial of that, and we think that our shame and our guilt is not connected to how other people live their lives, and or the lack of opportunity or the lack of access that other people have that we assume has nothing to do with this, but we wonder why we feel fucking guilty. Oh god, we should give to the charity. Yeah, because we kind of created that charity. Maybe not kind of, maybe we fully did. And if we're still getting triggered by the guilt vibrashe, then we still have guilt to work through. Bah! You know, we still have guilt, we still have shame to work through. Because I'm somebody who's worked through that, honestly, straight up. I no longer get triggered by poverty and homelessness. I endeavor to live my life to share as much as I have to give, because I'm also one of those people that would give my last dollar bills to people who needed food more pressingly than I did. Because I never, even though I've never necessarily had millions and millions of dollars, I've always been somebody who cares a lot, and I've always had more than enough, and I've never really bought into like all the buying. So I'm just like, plus I never really like shopping. Although, as I've told you guys, I'm really getting into personal fashion and style since being minimalist slash zero waste slash vegan fashionista. And I know, yeah. I've been developing this for like since 2012. But also it increasingly kind of shifts and morphs, just because, well, seasonally I tend to go through my wardrobe and then I buy new stuff on eBay. But I actually have some sense of personal style. Oh, look, Molly's talking about herself and about vanity again. Oh my god. But I much prefer exploring personal style now that I buy everything secondhand, vintage, blah, 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 blah. It's more legit. Do any of you guys know Enneagram by any chance? It's like a 9 number, there's like a circle of 9 numbers and like a star shape, and sort of like that INFG stuff. Myers-Briggs or Myers-Briggs or something. Again, I'm unlisted, so like, I'm like, oh, nobody's there. But you guys know what I mean, because it's you guys who have asked me about that. It's a Carl Jung study, is it? Am I talking shit right now? I'm not sure. So Carl Jung, no, it would have been somebody by the last name of Briggs, surely. Anyway, you guys know what I mean. There's these different... And the other weird angle that I get about all of these like psychological platforms that help profile us is that I'm like, all of it is still sort of bored out of the separation consciousness. In as far as helping us to elevate and understand our human capacity. What the fuck is going on inside? What the hell is all of this? Like, what are we doing here? It's the great mystery. It's these great mysterious unfolding questions that we never really can answer, certainly not in the intellectual capacity. Why bother trying? And then actually just be like, oh my god, it's life. I'm alive. I live. I have life. I have life force. And then there's all this life force around me, and ultimately the more I just love this life force and then exude that love, like radiate that love returns. And gosh, gulls, it's been quite the journey of unraveling and breaking the cycle, breaking the pattern of people pleasing. It's craziness, actually. And then working with the transformational energy, ultimately, detaching. Guys, also, those of you who are digging on the vibrashe here, read the book. go get yourself a copy of the Fearless Life Guide. It's really helpful for people that resonate with it. And I got to say, my friends, if you resonate with the stuff that I talk about, you're more than likely, highly likely, in fact, you're going to resonate with the book. And then the book will give you a better idea of like the stuff I talk about here. And also the book will a little bit maybe lead the way in the gateway into you being able to have really focused coaching sessions. You know, if packages and the bigger in financial investment isn't your thing, then having the odd coaching session can be helpful. But I do often recommend, if people are a little bit like that about actually making an investment or actually going down this route, or being like, I don't know, I like MJ, she's entertaining, but like I'm not sure, blah blah blah. So it's like, okay, fine, go read the book then. And if you're into what's going on in the book, the point of having support is that it's great and easy when we're reading a book. It's another thing when we're sitting in storm after storm after storm. Or it's really great, you know. And this is another thing as well, where I'm like, I'm always amazed at the way I will just buy into different veils, certainly. And that so often was the case that I'd be working with somebody who, and this is like, I'm talking initial consultations or like the very early phases of working with somebody who, like, and we negotiate a rate based on certain financial outpouring. And then you do a little digging and you find out there's multiple property investments and, pardon me, and there's, you know, there's just things tied up and family wealth and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just always like, wow, like, lack is lack. It really doesn't matter how much stuff we have. Lack is lack. And it really doesn't matter how little we have. Abundance is abundance. So, as per usual, my friends, I just went off on a glorious tangent just for you. I will encourage all of us today and tomorrow to do some sort of inspired ritual. I'm having a brain fart because clearly nothing just pause. So let's just fix Molly's hair. And don't you love this top, you guys? I got like these two different ones, and the other one really doesn't work. This one really does. Thank you, eBay. So you guys might think this is pure gobbledygook vanity vibrashe. It's actually love heart vibrashe from a radical pioneer of new paradigm realities. So welcome to Ultra Love TV, and good luck with the new moon this month. And the best way to prepare and actually have good luck is to do some rituals, or just like little ceremony, and or just a little meditation, and or just like light a candle and be like, please God, please just fucking get what I need, right? It's not, no, it's not. Actually, like the flip of that is just, I try to have a little fun, my friends. Try to go out and play. Try to have a snoozles and like embrace the snoozles. And I had a snoozle yesterday. It was glorious at a friend's house where there was like this balcony and it was all like lush. And there I went for some, anyway, long story. But I did a bit of a detour and ended up visiting a friend, and then there's this like lovely balcony room, and I was like, damn. And then I had a whole bunch of errands to go run. But then whilst I was running the errands, I was like, that room is glorious. I could so use a nap in that room. So it's like, hello, friend. Because we had plans, so we randomly just by chance met in the morning, and then from the morning we decided to make plans for the afternoon. But I had like another window. A window of opportunity to take a nap in a friend's house, in a friend's room, which looks absolutely effing glorious. OMG, you guys, I might not publish this because MJ is clearly totally effing bonkers today. But I can feel the new energy. So let's talk about these collective intuitions, you guys. Which collective intuitions just means me, intuish, connecting to all of you guys, and collective intuish. So intuition is the inner teacher. It's the infinite self. It's the Holy Spirit. It's the blah, 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 the higher, the guides, the angels, the blah, 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 blah. It's all you in a vortexual stew. Da la 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 la. Okay, one thing I want to address in this collective intuition is the patterns. And thank you so much to Kurt Mill for actually like bringing this to the table as far as what are the patterns that you see. I want to say even establishing themselves. So part of the new cycle of patterns that we're going to witness is increasing sections of our control system going bust. And that's politic, education, well, economy, obviously, spirituality. Everything's going through. So we've had for years these little like percolating energies of unrest. A lot of us on the fringes, we've been aware of this sort of imminent revolutionary activity, which in different pockets of the world have actually started to bubble, boil, you could say. But the kettle ain't screaming yet, sort of thing. There's just a kind of a rumble. And the rumble kind of takes us back to that rebirth, the contraction going through the birth canal, the like, or like, these polarized extremes. It's either intense, or we're like digging in and it's just, you know, really profound. We're not yet hitting into some of the higher energies that are coming through, but the weird polarity is that we're having to ground into the darkness. Actually, we're having to ground into the deepest, darkest aspects of self. All the shame, all the guilt, all the disparity, all the you know, the financial shittiness or whatever, that all is getting washed clean. There's a lot of I want to say ego control that's getting triggered for people. And then there's a lot of people pleasing energy being triggered for people. So one thing that's coming through in patterns is like this, much like how we're now more aware of experiencing the energies, but I'm hearing like we're gonna see the shattering of illusions of the titans of industry. So I'm getting that Jeff Bezos, the guy who runs the Amazon, and various other, like the, I don't know, you know them, Zuckerberg, and but these aren't, I'm not making examples of these people. I'm just, it's more to do with the ideology and the corruption around people, individuals, and or corporations who can then encroach on the freedom of the mass population and essentially hoard wealth. So the hoarding of wealth, again, it's really does have to do with the depth of our fear as a human collective, ultimately. And why you can sense, for those of us in the healing crises of the collective, that's why it's deeper than we imagined, longer, slower than we imagined. Yeah. Okay. So it's like the shining out and the holding accountable to the titans. And that means that chunks of wealth can be extracted from the corruptive table and kind of siphoned over to where it needs to go for the collective. It has to do with actual spontaneous spiritual awakening descending upon key figures in the humanity who have been hoarding. And then ultimately what we're going to see, so we're going to see a collapse of that of that model. And that has a lot to do with idol worship and the glamorizing of money. And then using human beings as puppets to keep everybody asleep, essentially. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot around disclosure and a lot around the patterns of exposing and then healing from that, and then exposing and then healing from that, and then exposing, healing from that, seeing the shadow of the outward pouring of all of this accumulation of wealth, the shadow. And then the healing of it is actually the extension and the redistribution of resources. And then as a flip to that kind of full disclosure and or like having to see certain people be held accountable for their actions, i.e. just deal with their karma. It's energy, deal with their energy. Then there will also be a evolution of new paradigm stuff. So we're gonna really actually start to see more enlightened conversation on a global level. More talk about love, more talk about spirituality, more talk about sacred. I want to say sacred connection, and also a lot more awareness and acceptance of the feminine. So us as beings actually aligning to the heart and being in purpose and on flow is kind of the juice. That's kind of where we're all headed. That's why we reach out. That's why we need each other. That's why we do these things. That's why we follow the flow, regardless of what the circumstances look like. And then if you just keep going, if you just keep fucking going, things turn around. Things miraculously show up. New people turn up. Things turn around. You're like, oh my God, how did that happen? And everything is just fine. Everything works out just fine. So, I feel like that's it for today. It's a Sunday. It's a gorgeous day in my heart and mind. The sun's not coming up yet. I don't think. Maybe it's just starting to get lighter out there. But yeah, I'll probably be in a fair amount of meditation today, wanting to noodle with the energies and really drop in deep, and see what comes out the other side. So I love you guys. Have a gorgeous day. Wishing you so much juicy, gooey love on this full moon weekend and Monday, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care, you guys.